You're a business owner of an LLC company that is incorporated in the mainland UAE, and now you have learned that all the LLC companies will be subject to corporate tax starting from the year 2023. You would be required to prepare your taxes, file your taxes, and pay your corporate income taxes. You might feel overwhelmed and you don't know where to start. Well, in this video, I'm going to give you a detailed guide of how to prepare for your corporate tax so that you don't get into fines later when the tax is released. Hello, my name is 𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐞. I'm the founder of SetupHero, where we help entrepreneurs set up their companies in UK, US, and UAE. So let's start with today's topic. There is really no denial that you would be required to at least file the corporate income tax. Doesn't matter if you are within the threshold or above the threshold, for sure you would need to prepare and file your corporate income tax, even if it is at 0 rated. What does that mean for you? That means that now you have to maintain your books and accountings as per the international standards. You need to prepare your annual income tax and annual returns, and then you need to file and pay those taxes. You are a local business, maybe you are a property management company or a real estate consulting, maybe a big or a small restaurant, a boutique, a flower shop, a hotel even. You have already seen how to do the taxation, or you're already in doing your taxation for a VAT for the past 2 to 3 years. The thing is that the VAT was only affecting a very limited amount of what you were doing in terms of your books. So it was only about your purchases and your sales, and you prepare those sales and purchases and file with the tax authorities. And really it does not matter as to how your banking was done or how all the other parts of accounting such as expenses and income were conducted at that point. But now this is going to change. Now you have to organize or maintain your book in a way that are complying to the international accounting standards. For sure you need accountants or in-house or outsourced accountants who are more aware or who understand these accounting standards and who can prepare you or prepare your books in accordance with those standards. As we have seen with the VAT law, if there is any issues or errors and you have to refile, there are penalties, and I've seen clients who are paying these kinds of penalties. Just for example, if you just have to change the VAT filing on a voluntary basis, you just found a mistake, you say, oh, I want to change what I have filed, you have to pay a 3,000 dirhams fine, even though the tax authority didn't catch you. It was you who were voluntarily wanting to change the VAT filing. So you have to understand that the same approach will be followed when it comes to corporate tax, that you have to be accurate, your books have to be accurate, should be accurately maintained, filed, and the supporting documents, the banking, how it's being done, should be accurately maintained. Before we go into how we are going to manage the corporate taxation, how we are going to maintain our books, and how we are going to file the corporate taxation, I want to touch upon the fact that why is now UAE introducing the corporate tax. Partially it is in line with the global minimum tax commitments that have been done. So all the large corporations, if you have seen that the taxation is 15%, and for the smaller corporations it is 9%. Up to the profits of 375,000 dirhams or $100,000, there is zero taxation. So the small businesses who are making up to $100,000, they don't have to pay any tax, but it doesn't mean that they don't have to file tax. They will be required to maintain their books, file their taxes, and they have to actually prove that they have made less money than $100,000 to be exempted from the tax. So this is a very, very important distinction. Even if you are a small business, you are exempted to pay the tax, but you actually have to file your taxes. So that's what it is. And you might find it an additional burden to now we have to maintain our books in a more organized way, or now we have to prepare your taxes, or even pay the tax. We have never paid a corporate tax before. But to be fair, it's a good thing for the local economy. It's a good thing for the country, United Arab Emirates, because this helps us integrate with the global economy even further. This helps us integrate our economic, and this helps us integrate our banking systems with the global scale, and this helps improves the opportunities and the business that we are having in the mainland and in the free zones. For example, if there is an economic slowdown, if there is an economic downturn, the businesses that are most hit are the LLCs, because the local economy slows down, the local expenditures reduces, and then the direct hit comes to the local LLCs the most. But with this corporate taxation, this improves the economic benefits that we will be getting. This improves the economy as a whole, and in return it will give you as an LLC owner a more stable business. You can have a more stabilized business that you can project your incomes and earnings. You don't have to, for sure there is always a risk of an economic downturn, but introducing these corporate taxations improves the chances of your economy going more stable, and then in return your business will become more stable. So even though you have to do these additional steps, or you might have to even pay those taxes, but it doesn't mean that that's bad for your business. So in terms of the timelines of when the corporate taxation will be effective, it is effective from the 30th of June 2023. So if any company that has an year end of December 2023, the corporate taxation will be applicable on the full fiscal year of 2024, and you will be filing your taxes and paying your taxes in 2025. This actually gives you time to prepare your books and prepare your understanding of how these taxation will work and how you'll be filing, and stay compliant and be compliant in terms of how you're operating your business, so that you don't end up messing your books, messing your accounts, and filing wrong corporate taxation that can bring massive penalties to your business, and that's not good for the health of the business. So let's just be proactive. Let's just operate in a way and operate our business in a way that is compliant with the corporate tax best practice guidelines. Now I will come to the topic of how you can actually prepare for this corporate taxation, and there are three key areas that you have to look into. The first one is the people, the second one is the processes, and the third one is the software. And let us go into each of these three areas and understand what is there and how we can tackle it. The most important, and to start with, is the people. So let us divide this into three categories. One is the business owner, the second one is the accountants, and third one are the employees. Each one of them will have separate or different responsibilities that they would need to fulfill in order to have accurate corporate taxation, and not that helps you not to run into troubles with the tax authorities. So as a business owner, you have to start with the very first and the very basic step of making your personal and company expenses separate. I understand that before maybe you are getting your sales, and then you're using those for personal expenses as your business, but with the corporate taxation it doesn't work like that, and it can really make things very difficult for you and your team, and when it comes to corporate taxation. So I would, as a starting point, I would recommend, and it's not a recommendation, it's a very mandatory thing, that you have to make your personal expenses separate. So what you can do is you can draw down a salary, whatever your salary that you think fixed, that's suitable for you. You can further get dividends from the company, and then you go on to use those salaries and dividends from your personal bank accounts to do the personal expenses, but not to do any of the personal expenses from corporate bank accounts. You need to establish this practice of keeping this separate. The second thing that you need to focus on, if you're more hands-on, if you're more day-to-day in terms of your business, you have to focus more extensively on the documentation, and more importantly proper documentation. So you cannot, let's say, do transactions based on WhatsApp screenshots or WhatsApp voice notes, or things written on white papers. You cannot continue to do that. You have to focus on tax documents, you have to focus on purchase orders, you have to focus on contracts, you have to focus on actual invoices. If you are selling something, very important that you have your tax invoices. If you're purchasing something, you have the proper documentation with it. Make it a habit that you collect those documents, you provide it to your accountant, and there are some softwares that can help you with that. If you're more working remotely, you have your mobile apps that you can use to, whenever you have these documents, you can take a picture, it goes into the document bank that your accountant will be monitoring. But at the end of the day, you have to build this habit of getting accurate documentations for all the transactions that you're doing, if it's in the bank, or if something related to sales and purchases, inventory, employees. You need to get proper documentations for that, because eventually, end of the day, even though the tax authorities, they have suggested that there is only one document that you have to file, and that is your annual financial statement, but really there are 200 or 500 or 2000 documents that are supporting that one annual financial statement, and then when it comes to audits, you would need all those financial statements. You would need all those supporting documents. So it's really important that you implement this practice. The second most important aspect of your people pillar is your employees. So you need to also install the same practice with your employees, that let's say they are in the human resource, that are in finance, that are in the operations, manufacturing, sales, wherever they are, they need to establish what documents or what financial documents are their touch points. And then they need to have the same habit of collecting those documents, submitting to their account department to prepare those financial statements. And if they're not doing it, and as I say, even if they are also doing these kinds of transactions on WhatsApp or voice notes, then it doesn't work like that, or on documents that are not very legally supported. So yeah, it's also important that you develop internal processes in your operations, so how one thing can flow to the other, and how the banking is connected to that. All these things you need to develop internal processes and implement with your employees, how you can do that, so that your accountant has sufficient documentation to support everything that is going on in your business. And the third thing is your accountant. Again, accountant is a very important content of the people pillar. For sure, your accountant has to understand the international accounting standards. It has to be someone who is qualified, has to be someone who knows accounting and accounting processes and accounting softwares, because it's not just about entering the data or data entry or booking the transactions. It's actually about understanding how these transactions have been treated, how are they compliant with the international accounting standards, and how they affect the corporate tax. Because eventually, if you have made your books but it's not in compliance with the international accounting standards, that would mean that your corporate tax is incorrect, and that would again mean that you are facing severe fines with the corporate tax authorities, and we don't want to get into that route. So you need to be very careful about, or you need to understand that your accountant is qualified enough to do these corporate taxation. Now, either it can be an outsourced accountant, so you have a data entry operator who is booking these transactions into your system, collecting these documentations, and then sending out to an expert outsourced accountant, to an expert outsourced team. And that team is helping you prepare your books and file your taxes. Or it can be an expert accountant or specialized accountant that you hire in-house. If you're a big company sufficient enough, then obviously you go for an in-house accountant who can take care of all of these things. Now, moving to the second pillar is the processes. As I say, you need to establish these processes with your accountant and with your team on collecting the documents, the sufficient documents, and then submitting them in a way that we have sufficient supportings to justify the corporate tax that you have filed. The third is the software aspect, and then you have to have a software that is compliant with the local laws. It can book transactions in terms of course, the VAT and corporate taxation in guidelines. It's always good to have a good software locally compliant, so it reduces your efforts in terms of managing or maintaining your data and how you are keeping that data. So a good software that can give you all the data that you require when you require it. If let's say if there is a tax authority audit and you need a supporting document for a particular transaction, you can go into the software, click the transaction, download the supporting documents. Similarly, as I say, it needs to be tax compliant for all the VAT perspectives and the corporate tax perspective. And then that makes your life really easy and more compliant. Now, moving to the next steps, I would suggest that if you're a big company, you already have a qualified accountants, sit with them, go through the points that I've suggested and start implementing them. And if you're a smaller entity who does not have, or doesn't make sense for them to have, a highly qualified accountant, what I would suggest is that you book a call with my team or myself, and then we can go through, review your books, your business, what you are doing, how you're doing it. We can give you a tax strategy, we can give you business processes, and we can implement the corporate taxation for you. We can do your monthly bookkeeping, and then prepare you for corporate taxation and prepare your corporate taxation when it arrives. So if you want our help, just book a call with the link in the description below, and my team would be happy to support you in that. Please also subscribe to my channel for more videos and updates on corporate taxation and incorporations. Thank you, and see you in the next video.